Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare just a minute, I didn't open the file yet. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Okay, so we begin the class today. Welcome all of you, extending a very warm welcome and truly grateful for all those who are sticking on. Today it's just the day 4 and we are into chapter 3. And this is a 9 p.m. level 1 adult and youth class. Let's pay our humble obeisances to the beautiful deities of Sri Sri Radha Govinda temple and seek their blessings. I would also like to seek the blessings of all my teachers, my spiritual masters, my Shiksha Gurus, Aishwarya Mataji, Rashmi Mataji, and I want to remember all of them, all starting from Srila Prabhupada, Jayapataka, Guru Maharaj, and Namnishra Das Prabhu as I chant this verse related to Guru. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin iti namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. All glories to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Guru Maharaj, Temple President His Grace Namnishra Das Prabhu, seeking blessings of Aishwarya Mataji and Rashmi Mataji once more. I would like to begin the class today. We have finished chapter 1 and chapter 2. And if anybody is new today, in chapter 1, we basically covered the story of the Mahabharata, like the basic briefing. We looked at the two families. We looked at the family tree with clarity. And we understood that the Pandavas and Kauravas are basically cousins. And they are the sons, or they're sons of two brothers, so Dhritarashtra and Pandu. Pandu had died, but Pandu's children were the rightful, heirs to the throne. And then we understood how Dhritarashtra was too attached to his children, especially Duryodhana, and to the kingdom, and he was very lusty and greedy, and so he couldn't be righteous and actually give the kingdom. And therefore, that is the reason why there had to be a war. It was just the right the duty of the Pandavas as Kshatriyas, because the kingdom belonged to them. Moreover, they were very, they were very dharmic and righteous people, whereas Duryodhana and team, they were very unrighteous with a lot of cruelty. Although they did rule well, but still the kingdom didn't belong to them. So, that's why the war was fought. And we also were introduced to, in chapter 1, the personality of Lord Krishna. And we saw how Krishna is Bhagavan, and how Krishna has all the 6 opulences, and how he's supreme controller and supreme proprietor, and which he will keep on, speaking about himself. And we come to know exactly how Krishna is God and what are the characteristics of God. He will explain himself. So we are always wondering, what is God? Who is God? And how is he? What does he do? We have so many questions about God. Here, God comes, and he actually tells us in the Gita who he is. And this knowledge gets revealed only to the very few fortunate. Bahunam Janmanam Ante. We also, after many, many births, we come to understand this, who is God. It's a very top secret. That's why the Bhakti chapters are called Guhyam, means very secret. It cannot be revealed to everyone simply because they're not ready for it. They don't want to know who is Krishna. They're not interested. And so Krishna will not reveal himself to somebody who is not interested. Only when we reach a particular level of, attaining some spiritual points, and we have done some pious activities, then our mind is ready and Krishna graces us, he blesses us, so that now we are ready to read and understand about God from God's own mouth. So it's called Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad means God. Gita means song. So this is a song of the God where God himself comes and he writes, he sings a love letter for us. He explains in detail every aspect of our existence. We only need to read and understand from great devotees. It's very important not to listen to the Gita from Mayavadis or impersonalists who can't understand that Krishna, who can't simply accept that Krishna is God, the origin of the entire universe, the supreme controller, proprietor, and the creator of the whole universe. Unless you do, because this is what Krishna explains in the Gita, in spite of him saying very clearly in so many verses, people will say, oh, he's just a yogi, he's just a politician, he's just a, kind of a person having fun with lots of gopis, or he's just someone who's a makhan chor, a thief. And they have all these kind of very wrong ideas about Krishna. So if you want to know who is Krishna, it's time you open the Bhagavad Gita and you listen to a devotee explaining, because by yourself, if you open the Gita and start reading, you can hardly understand. Right? So let's move on. This is a Karma Yoga. And so before we begin, I would like to ask some questions. I would want you to raise your hand and please answer the question. So the first question is, what is the name? Does anybody remember what is the name of Krishna's conch? Yes, Deepak Prabhu. Can you unmute?
Hello.
What is the name of
Hello.
his? I didn't hear you.
Now, hello.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Panchajanya.
Yes, that's right. So you get points there. Very nice, Deepak Prabhu. Good, great. So that is
Thank
Panchajan.
you.
Yeah, very nice. So what is, okay, I put two questions together. What is this? Who knows this answer? What is the name of Arjuna's bow? We had discussed it yesterday. Yes, Radha Mataji. Please unmute and say. Radha Mataji, can you say the answer? What is the name of Arjuna's bow? Are you unable to unmute, I think?
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you. Radha Mataji is unable to unmute. Yes, you could go ahead. Or Vinod Prabhu.
Hello.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Hare
yes,
Krishna,
Vinod.
Mataji.
Hare
That's
Krishna, Prabhuji.
that's Gandiva.
Gandiva, that's right. The Gandiva is the name of Arjuna's bow. The third question is, what are the signs of Arjuna's victory? Now, there are 6 signs of victory. Who remembers? Radha Mataji has raised her hand again. Come on, I want everybody to have their hands up, not just few. On the chat, I think somebody's putting the answer on chat. The attendance link has been posted, so I request everybody who has come now. Yeah, so many have put in the answer in there. Hanuman's flag, says Sarita Mataji on the chat. Kapi Dhwaja, Hanuman a flag. Dharma Kshetra, yes, Arun Prabhu. Chariot gifted by fire god, brilliant, very nice. What else? You can also unmute and say, Chariot gifted, yes, I saw that. And then, yeah, Gandiva is one, Shankhanada is one, correct. Great. How many have we covered? Any left? Holy place, Dharmakshetra, yes, that's one. Lord himself, Rishikesha, yes. Rishikesha, Ekadashi, Mokshada Ekadashi, yes, Manali Mataji. Wonderful. I love to see the participation. That's so nice. I think we've covered all the 6 points. I think we've covered all the 6 points. All right, great. So we can move on. Next question is, let's see who knows this one. How many verses are there in the Bhagavad Gita? Anybody remembers? Yes, Ria, please unmute and say Ria.
I
Can you-
forgot to lower my hand.
Okay, okay. How many verses does the Bhagavad Gita have? Is it on the chat?
700 verses.
700 verses. Yes, Ritika. So good to see you, Ritika. Yes, 700 verses and 18 chapters. That's right. Brilliant. Next question is, chapter 7 to 12 of Bhagavad Gita belong to which yoga? There are 3 new messages. Yes, Sarita Mataji, you're right.
Bhakti Yoga Mataji.
Yes, it's Bhakti Yoga. Correct. Karma Yoga comes in the first 6 chapters. Karma Yoga and Sankhya Yoga predominantly in the first 6 chapters. Then middle is Bhakti. And the last 6 are Jnana. Then what are the 5 topics discussed in the Bhagavad Gita? Who would say that? Anybody? 5 topics. Is it there on chat? Yes. Soul, correct. Nature or Prakriti, soul, Jiva, God, Ishvara, actions, karma. And the last one is not there. The last one more. Sarita Mataji has missed out. No, who is that? One is missing. Kal, that's right. Time and activity. Yeah, perfect. So these are the 5, themes which we understand in the Bhagavad Gita. I think that's it. No, there's one more. What are the 3 parts or steps of realization of the Supreme Soul or God? Bhagavan. What are the 3 parts of realization? Like there are 3 steps, right? I had said that yesterday. Yes, Ria? Can I hear from
But
you? Sorry. I was asking you to unmute and I mute. Yes.
I think Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan.
Yes, wonderful. You remember, Ria. Very nice. It's Brahman realization when we first start thinking that, Krishna is just, God is just energy, some light or something. And then we come to know, those who do a lot of yoga, they realize Paramatma within them. And then the last one is Bhagavan. He's a person. You actually come to know that this power you talk about, this energy, all sort of words you give and you keep trying to figure out and grapple as to what is this, power. And you come to know he's actually a person. He's a person who's so loving and he's written a love letter for you and he came on the earth and he did so many leelas so that we can continuously think about all those leelas and we can actually keep our mind fixed on him so that we come out of this horrible jail of this material world, which Krishna himself explains as being a dukkhalaya. So brilliant. So the Bhagavan realization, if you get straight away, there's no need to go through all these, tedious process of doing a lot of meditation and realizing the Brahman and then realizing the Paramatma straight away. Because of the grace of gurus like Srila Prabhupada, we are able to understand Bhagavan. Straight away, we are able to, understand that there is Krishna who is God. Thank you for all those answers in the chat. How the word Bhagavan is defined and who is he? What is the meaning of Bhagavan? Has anybody put that? He has 6 opulences. That's right, Sarita Marji. Because he has 6 opulences, he's called Bhagavan. Can you recollect what are the 6 opulences? Anybody? What are the 6 opulences? We discussed that with a lot of examples yesterday. Yes, Ria, you've raised your hand. Can I hear from you, Ria? Can you please unmute?
I was just typing it in the chat. I keep forgetting to lower my hand.
Okay. Right, so anybody can unmute. Yeah, I can see Sarita has started typing. Yes. All knowledge, all wealth or richness. That's right. Then all influence or power. Third one, all total detachment. Yeah, correct. Someone has typed all the 6 there. Very nice. Konkat Mataji. All Aishwarya, beauty, wealth, power or strength, jnana, renunciation, everything. Yes, perfect. I think you all remember. You're all brilliant students. I'm so proud of you. Great. So let's move on now. I think that was the last question. So we'll move on to today's class. No, there's one more. In which verse does Arjuna accept the Lord as his guru? Anybody remembers? Karpanya dosho upahata swabhava prichhami tvam
2.7.
mudha cheta. Yes? Verse
2.7.
number 7. That's right. Sarita Mataji, Ria, you remember the verse number. So brilliant. Please try to learn that verse up. It's very nice. You just go and surrender in front of Krishna and you say, Krishna, that's it. I've had enough of this material world. Tell me how I can get out. And then Krishna will open all the secrets in this Bhagavad Gita. All right, so let's look at chapter 3, an overview. We're going to begin by understanding renunciation better. You know, the most, the part which confuses most people is that they think that, you actually have to renounce everything. You're only mentally renouncing, right? You're just attaching yourself to Krishna and detaching yourself from everything that is material and so meaningless and stupid. Once you start attaching yourself to the higher taste and start realizing how beautiful it is to keep your mind fixed in Krishna, and you do all your work, nobody will be able to identify that you're now a devotee as such, because you're doing everything as you were always doing, but you are renounced. So Krishna will explain that distinction, because Arjuna will think that sannyasa means getting out, and that's what he actually wants to do. He doesn't want to fight. He's still in, he's actually kind of fallen into the material level where he's considering all this, Prabhupada calls that skin disease, with all those relationships and everything, which are all, basically we're all coming together like a river. Logs come together for some time and then that's it. After a particular moment of time, we all separate and go in our different ways. There's no need to be so attached. All these relationships are temporary. The only relationship which is permanent is that with God. That's the only relationship which is permanent for all of us. Every other relationship in this material world is temporary, and we're just here to kind of groom ourselves and get ready to go back. And most of us will take many, many lives to really understand how to do that. So we have to keep understanding and reading the Gita and make it a integral part so that we are kind of breathing it. We should be breathing the Gita to be able to actually go back. And then we have from the second section, the yoga ladder, where Krishna explains the steps of how to move up and, move up this ladder and reach him. And then we understand exemplary lifestyles, which is an answer to the family tradition point, which Arjuna makes. He says that, all the family traditions will be broken and, so many men will die and the families will not, all this, it will be so difficult with the traditions broken. And Krishna explains, oh no, if you don't fight, you are going to be setting the wrong example. And that is what is going to break all the tradition and cause a lot of chaos and confusion, because people will say that, oh, Arjuna, he just didn't do his duty. He just ran away. I can also not do, oh, exam is coming. I find it tough. It's okay. I'll just try next time. I'm not going to try my best now. Arjuna gave up. What's the big deal? Arjuna is a great warrior. He gave up. So you have to set an example. So Arjuna has to, he talks about how an exemplary lifestyle with someone following all the duties and who is, for having all the values in place and who is knowing that the true purpose of human life is to achieve Krishna. And that exemplary lifestyle is what will save the tradition. So that is what Krishna explains. And finally, I love this chapter a lot for so many reasons, but one of the reason is that it talks about the biggest challenge of spiritual life. What is it that sometimes even after coming into spirituality and understanding everything in the Gita, and we quite clearly understood it, during those 18 days. And then after that, you again kind of go back into the material rut. And very often, there are things we know, like just like how Duryodhana and the Kauravas, they know that they're in the wrong, but still they do it. So we're all kind of Kauravas because we know very often that this is wrong, really, and then we still do it. So Arjuna is asking a very wonderful question in there, and then Krishna gives the answer of what is the greatest enemy. He will explain that, which is lust, as you can see in this picture below. The greatest enemy of the human is lust. So we begin with Arjuna's confusion, whether it's renunciation or action, and then we look at Nishkam Karma Yoga better than Jnana. So we come to know about the order of achieving Krishna, and Karma Kanda to Karma Yoga, how to move. Nishkama Karma Yoga is when you start setting the right example. And then we have conquering lust, which is the greatest enemy. So, the takeaway at this point is Karma Kanda. What is Karma Kanda? Karma Kanda is the opposite of Karma Yoga. Karma Kanda is when you're doing all different things, but you're praying and you're praying to God also. But then what is it you're praying for? You're only praying for yourself. What are you focusing on? Your own sense enjoyment. And some people think that if I do everything for my family, I earn and I give all my salary to my parents, or I do so much and I give everything that my child needs, and they think that is selflessness, but actually that is only extended selfishness. And this was a huge realization for me, because I've seen so many people who say that, what, I've done everything for others, I hardly did anything for me, and why is it that I'm going through all this pain? So the pain would of course be because of previous birth's karma, but actually they fail to understand that whenever you do anything for you or your family, it's only called extended selfishness. When you do something for only you, that is selfishness, of course. But when you do something for your wife or for your husband or for your children or for your family, or for your group of, some group or whatever, your own personal group of people or whatever, that is just, and even for a nation, you do something, I'm doing for India. Of course, you think you're being selfless, but you're not purely selfless. It's still extended selfishness, because you're doing something for with that same bodily conception of mind, and so it is still impure. A person who is doing stuff for others is still impure till he realizes Krishna and starts doing things only for Krishna. It is still impure. So that when you do things like that for yourself or for your extended selfishness needs, fulfillment, then it's called Karma Kanda. So Karma Kanda, simply put, refers to ritualized means to derive sense enjoyment using different means such as Devata worship. So such people will go to different gods. And that is why, sadly, we have these like Christians and so many others, they say, oh, what is this Hinduism? They have plural, they believe in pluralism, and that they just think it's totally wrong. And they're right, because we are not actually having plural, we're not following pluralism. In Hinduism, when you actually read the Gita, it's clearly given that there is only one Supreme Lord, and that is Krishna. And all the others are highly venerable, because they're all different gods who have administrative positions, about which others are not, other, different kinds of dharmas are not very clear about that. But we know that there are so many different positions, and they're all got in the material, they're all in the material world with more subtle bodies than ours, and then they have more powers and more, there's a lot more they can do, and they're given the responsibility, and every little organ of ours is controlled by some demigod, and demigods control every other thing that you see around you. So, if you want to do well in your exam, pray to Saraswati. You want to do well, get a lot of wealth, you pray to Lakshmi Devi. You want, be able to focus and increase in your different Ashtanga yoga, you pray to Shiva. So different kinds of things are there. Devatas are there, and they're all there, through just for your own. Usually you go to them and you ask something for yourself. And so it's not yet pure, you know, your devotion is not pure. That is called karma kanda, when you keep asking for yourself. While on the other hand, karma yoga is the opposite. It's when you engage yourself in a constant endeavor to only please and serve the one and only Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself. So when you have the only desire, no anya bhilashita shunyam jnana karma dhanavritam. It means anya abhilashita, any other desire, shunyam, zero. You have no other desire but to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Single-minded. Remember, we had learned in chapter 2, Vyavasayatmika Buddhi. Only single-minded. When Arjuna says, you know, I'm confused, Krishna says, why are you confused? Be single-minded. Have that devotion to only me, that is only Krishna. You know, so when you reach there, that is the highest state. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, we have this beautiful verse, Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktiradhokshaje ahaitukiya pratihata yayatma suprasidati. What does it mean? Savai pumsa. That certainly for mankind, paro dharmo is a sublime occupation. Yato bhaktir, by which you are doing devotional service to whom? Adhokshaje, unto Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, the transcendence, spiritual, all other Devis and Devatas, everything, they're all in the material world. They're all given some positions to take care of the different things, you know, which we require, right? But only in the spiritual, you go beyond the whole. Even Brahma is in the material world. Shiva is somewhere in between. And then thereafter we have the transcendental spirit, purely spiritual world. That is Krishna's world. So unto Adhokshaja, Ahaituki Apratihata. Costless and unbroken should be your devotional service. How should be your devotional service? It should be, first of all, addressed to Krishna, who is a spirit, you know, the supreme being, and it should be costless. You should have no reason. Oh, Krishna, do this for me because I want to, you know, I want whatever, you know, my daughter is not getting married, or my son has to get a good job, or, you know, my son should get great marks, or all those, you know, material things. I want money, let my business deal be approved, or whatever. So it should be not all those, you know, you should be able to think that whatever I deserve, I will get. Krishna will give me whatever I deserve based on my karma, and whatever, if he graces me, that's it. Apratihata, unbroken. It should be continuous. There should be like a continuous, there should not be gap. There should be no gap between your thought of Krishna. Yayatma, by which yourself becomes suprasidati. You'll be so happy. When you start, you know, when you're able to do this, you're able to achieve this, you know, what is said in the shloka, the supreme occupation dharma for all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service unto the one and only Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. You'll be so supremely happy and peaceful, like how we've been seeing Krishna. Actually, the whole Gita keeps on repeating because we're all stupid. Even after listening it million times, it's not really entering. Again, we go back now. The class is over. Immediately, we'll be back into the material, you know, things. We will not be able to focus on Krishna. So Krishna repeats and repeats so that we understand. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, this particular verse in Madhya Leela 19.170 also, it is stated that Sarvopadhi vinirmuktam tat paratvena nirmalam hrishikena hrishikesha. Sarvopadhi vinirmuktam tat paratvena nirmalam hrishikena hrishikesha sevanam bhaktiruchyate. It's a very beautiful verse. It says, give up all. Sarv upadhi. You know, upadhi means titles. All the titles. Oh, I'm a woman. I'm an Indian. I'm a Hindu. I'm a mother. I'm a wife. I'm a teacher. All these designations, you know, don't hold on to those. They're all temporary. So be free from all the different designations related to the body. Keep remembering that I am the spirit soul. Don't be trapped in this constant thinking that I'm the body and you're not the body. You have a long journey. I know you've come quite far and it's time to stop your soul getting into another body again. Stop it, right? Time to get back. So free from all designations which are related to your body is called Sarvopadhi Vinir Muktam. Free from all kinds of material designations or free from all desires except the one Vyavasayatmika Buddhi, single-minded desire to render service to that one Supreme person, not an energy or something, a person, Krishna. Tat Paratvena, by the sole purpose of serving this Krishna, Nirmalam, you will become pure, uncontaminated by the effects of, when you do anything else, you have an effect. It's a fruit of activity. What is fruit of activity? Any activity which will give you a fruit. You do good, you have to enjoy its benefits. You do bad, you have to enjoy the punishment. Suffer the punishment. So, and even speculative philosophical research, it only keeps you more and more confused because Krishna is actually what is he? Achintya. So spirituality begins at a point when you realize that Krishna, you enjoy listening and knowing about him, you love him, but still he is Achintya. You can't really fathom him. So you keep on, don't engage yourself in useless, going on doubting and speculative philosophical research. Of course, in the beginning, in the jnana stage is there when you're inquisitive, that's there. But then develop that firm faith, and know that he's there, he's powerful, and he's Achintya. It's difficult to fathom him. Ananta Shesha with so many thousand heads that serpents, Ananta Shesha, he says that in spite of having all thousands of tongues, I can never, ever finish describing Krishna, the qualities of Krishna, with all my, every time there are new things. Every second there are new things to describe him because he's so endless, so, infinite. So Rishikesha, this is also my favorite line. Rishikesha, Rishikena. So what should you do with your senses? You have to use all your senses to serve the master of senses. Who is the master of senses? Krishna. Rishikesha is Krishna. All your senses, what should you do? Use it only to serve Krishna. Don't have anything for yourself. Because your true joy is in service. That's why when we do things for others, we feel happy. But we don't know whom to actually do for. Right? The person to whom we should be doing service, even when we're doing service to others, the offering should be, our consciousness should be in Krishna. That's for Krishna consciousness. Instead of, keeping on saying, I'm doing this for my boss, I'm doing this for my son. Yeah, do it. But when you, in your mind, when your consciousness, I'm doing it for Krishna, then what you do for your son will be pure and will be of much higher, quality than when you just think about your son and that extended selfish mentality is there. So you need to always have Krishna in your mind, and whatever you do with any of your senses, sevanam, service, bhakti uchyate, that is bhakti. Whenever you do anything you do for Krishna, that is bhakti. Chanting is bhakti. Taking this class is bhakti. You're listening to this class today is bhakti. So bhakti or devotional service simply means engaging all our senses in the service of the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Master of all senses. When the spirit renders service to Krishna, there are two side effects. You will be freed from all material designations, sarvopadi vinirmuktam, because you're not, in your bodily material platform at all. You're in a transcendental state the whole day and night. And simply by being employed in the service of the Lord, your senses will become purified. This is in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Now, in the first verse, Krishna is going to, Arjuna is going to ask this way or that way. Which way should I go? Arjuna is confused. I feel like just leaving everything and just sitting and chanting and going and meditating and, oh, I feel so great. I want to just go and meditate. I want to stop doing everything I'm doing. That's it. So he's saying, is it, because at one point of time you did mention that you should try and find out who you really are. And then you're, at the same time. So, ekam vada. Arjuna is saying in this third verse, third chapter, second verse, ekam vada. Tell me one thing, right? In 2.38 to 53, he was talking about how you can, do everything for Krishna. And then you have said, not merely, and so answer. Now, this is the answer, okay? So, there are some more sheets. I can't find that. Anyway, yeah, in 2.11 to 30, Krishna is talking about, focusing on understanding who you are, the soul and the body and all. And then you're saying fight, do your work. So you're saying both and I'm quite confused. And then in 3.4 of the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, 4th verse, Krishna is answering. He says that simply if you think that you stop doing your work, you can never achieve freedom from reaction. We very wrongly, we think that if we are going to stop doing our work and only do the bhakti, then we are renounced. But that is imperfect, because first of all, fruit has to be ripened and situations have to be favorable. As long as, in our life, we are having to do our duties, if we run away from that, that is not true renunciation. No, we're just running away from our duties. So just as Arjuna, Krishna tells Arjuna, if you go running now, first of all, people will make fun of you. And then you're going to feel terrible. And you're anyway going to fight because that is your nature. So based on whatever is the nature that we have acquired from our previous, karmas and all that, and the modes that we have been feeding in our previous births and this birth, we have to perform. We cannot stop. If you forcefully stop, it will be, but that will be actually cheating. For example, here you see this person appears to be externally very renounced. My internet is unstable. Am I audible? Okay, I hope I'm
Yes.
audible.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Okay, thank you so much, because I just got a message that my internet is unstable. So anyway, here we can see this person in all appearance. He's growing his thing and all, beard and everything, and he's wearing a flower mala, and he's wearing orange saffron clothes. It appears that he is kind of renounced. But you can see using the phone is not really wrong, because if you use it for Krishna conscious purpose, it's good. However, there is one thing which shows he's not renounced, and that is what is that? Anybody can say?
Smoking.
He had smoking.
Yes, he's smoking. Exactly. Thank you, Ritika. Exactly. So the fact that he's smoking clearly tells us that he is not renounced, because somebody who's renounced will not take anything that is, intoxicating, related to intoxication. So in this third verse, Krishna says, Karmendriyani samyamya ya asta manasa smaran indriyarthan vimudhatma mithyachara sa uchyate. So this word mithyachara is very, very powerful. It's quite insulting. Mithyachara means he's cheating. A person who tries to run away and says, oh, I'm a sannyasi, and he tries to, use his sannyas thing to earn money, or he's still addicted and he's still in his mind thinking of all sensual pleasures, or he's still, bound thinking, he's not getting the right thoughts, which is to think of Krishna all the time. So he is not a sannyasi. He's just a mithyachar. He's a cheat. He's a pretender. So one who restrains all his senses and organs of action and forcefully he tries to take renunciation, but his mind is still dwelling on sense objects. He's deluding himself, and such a person is a pretender. You don't want to be called a pretender or a cheat or a hypocrite or a hypocrite, right? None of us would like to be called that. But that is exactly what will happen if we try to force ourselves and say, oh, now I'm ready to renounce. I'm going to renounce and I'm going to go and just sit and meditate and all that. So that's what the Lord Krishna did not want Arjuna to become a pretender, but that he should perform his prescribed duties as set forth for Kshatriyas. Arjuna was very much a householder and also military general, and therefore it was better for him to remain as such and not run away and become a sannyasi, forcefully trying to stop everything, his sense attractions or his different karma which he's now supposed to do. Instead, he should perform his duties as prescribed for a householder Kshatriya. So perform your prescribed duty, says Krishna in verse number 8, because action is better than inaction. Any day just sitting and meditating is, better than that, is able to think of Krishna and do your actions. A man cannot even maintain his physical body without work, right? We all have to do the work that we're supposed to do. There are many pseudo meditators who misrepresent themselves as belong to some high parentage or some great professional men who do all these Bhagavad Sapta and all they'll do, and they earn lots of money out of it. And they'll straight away jump to, the chapter 10 where the Rasa Leela is there, and they'll try to only speak what the audience wants to hear and just cater and pander to whatever, are their desires, rather than tell them, like how Srila Prabhupada says, matter of fact, what is, good for you, and think of Krishna and, giving the Gita as it is to us. You'll find people who falsely pose as if they're renounced, as if they have sacrificed everything for the sake of advancement. But there are many, many cheaters and pretenders So please beware. You should have that right. You should be able to reach out to the right people, the true devotees. That's really important. And you have to pray to Krishna for the grace, because often it's not easy to identify. Now, this is this picture of Bharat Maharaj. He had, in fact, based on it's after him that our country was named Bharat. He was a very great king, and when it was, he just felt it's time for me now to renounce. In those days, not like now, people hold on to their political power even when they're going to die the next month. Also, they will still want to hold on to the chair and want to keep ruling and keep earning more and more and be so materially obsessed and lusty and greedy. Deepak Prabhu wants to share something at this
I have
point.
one question
There are,
actually.
the
I have one
attendance
question.
form is going on being shared. Yes, Deepak Prabhu.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hello?
I can
Okay,
hear
Hare
you,
Krishna
Deepak Prabhu.
Mataji.
Please go on. Hare
Ha-
Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. My question is
Hare.
that the character you're talking about, Bharat Rishi, I want to know uh, 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 is he a brother of Lord Rama?
No, no, he's not. He comes
Oh,
before Rama. He's
he
not
comes
Bharat of
before
the
Rama.
brother of Lord Rama. There is
Okay,
another
okay,
Bharat. Yeah, yeah.
okay, okay,
Thanks for
okay. Thank you.
clarification. So somebody else may also have this doubt. This Bharat is not the brother of Lord Rama. He's another Bharat which comes much before that. And this Bharat was a great, in those days, uh, the kings we talk about in those days, which are mentioned as scriptures, didn't only at that time they used to rule over the entire earth. So he gave up that whole thing because he thought, okay, now it's time for me prayer, and he missed out the importance of association. That is why, once you come into spirituality and you start, and it is entering a through association. Otherwise, we can easily fall, and that's what happened to Bharat. He just sat alone without any association of other devotees, and he was just engaged in all these different ways of staying, being in service. But then once a little a mother deer, he was near the river. He saw that a mother deer, she jumped across the river.
Mataji, your voice is breaking.
And she fell and is it my
Yeah.
internet is not so stable today. Shall I
Can you please repeat?
okay. So is it better now? Is it still breaking?
Now it's clear, Mataji.
Now it's clear, okay. So Lavanya Mataji, your hand is raised. You want to say something?
Mataji, can you repeat the same, because the voice was breaking before I couldn't get the sequence. I
Okay.
couldn't
Okay, I'll
the
just repeat
sentence
that
was
part.
breaking.
All right, I'll just repeat what I said now once more. I was talking about how King Bharat, after renouncing, he was one day sitting, beside the river, and a mother deer who was pregnant. She was beside the river. She was running because a tiger was chasing her. And then she tried to jump to save her life. She jumped across the river, and in the process, she gave birth to the baby, but she died. So Bharat, when he saw this totally helpless little baby deer, he felt very compassionate. It's good to have compassion, but what happened? The mistake was that, first of all, he didn't have association. It's important, that if we want to stay in devotional service, we should have continuous association. Otherwise, we'll fall. And so he didn't have association. Secondly, we should not become attached to anything, right? Our mind should be only fixed on Krishna. But what happened to Bharat? He became attached to the baby deer, so much so that, he would whole day and night be worried about that little baby deer. He would give it food. He would wonder, oh my God, will somebody kill him? And see, you can see him how he's distracted by that baby deer. And then, and ultimately what happens, the deer one day gets lost. The deer is growing up, and so he doesn't feel a need to be there with Bharat. And so he goes out somewhere, he's growing. But Bharat goes looking for him and looking and looking. When he doesn't find him, he gets so scared and worried. He's not able to think of anything else, that when he dies, he's still thinking of the deer. And then he had to, because, there's very important rule of this world. Important means it's a fixed rule. Even if somebody will say, oh, I'm a Christian, I don't believe in all this. Someone will say, oh, I'm an atheist, I don't believe in reincarnation. So what if you don't believe? Truth is the truth. And what will happen has to happen. It will happen. It's no point in, someone saying that I don't believe. It doesn't affect what is going to happen. These are rules which are declared in the scriptures. So whatever you think in the last minute, when you're dying, you'll get that kind of a body. So Bharat has to get a deer body, actually. So that is the story behind this. And what is the takeaway? You give up the activity in the name of renunciation. So what did Bharat do? He renounced. But what happened? It didn't turn out to be, sadly, a true renunciation. And because it might be termed, somebody might, in fact, if you just renounce, someone will say, oh, you're just lazy to do all your duties, or you're just running away, you find it troublesome. Oh, my family is so irritating, I just want to get away from them. And then you renounce, then you're just being a parasite by not doing your duty. So true renunciation is when you give up the fruits, all the while carrying out your duty. So whatever you do, do it well, because you're giving it to Krishna. How can you give something substandard to Krishna? So whatever duty you do it very well, because you are offering it to Krishna. And whatever fruits come, be it good or bad, you are totally unaffected by whatever is happening, is you're going to get. And, by giving up your fruits, for that, you don't have to go to the forest. You don't have to renounce. Whatever you do, just be unattached to the results and offer what, good or bad. Don't feel sad or happy with the fruits, because you offer it to Krishna. Krishna, whatever, I have done my best and I've offered whatever the fruit to you. So no one can term such a person as lazy or a parasite, right? So work done as, in verse 3.9, Krishna says, work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu, same as Krishna, has to be performed. Otherwise, work will cost. If you don't offer it to Krishna, this is a very important concept of the Bhagavad Gita. If at any point of time you're doing anything, be it in your mind, just as a thought or an action or a word, you will have to incur the result of what you're doing, because it will always be either karma or vikarma. It will definitely have some good, consequences and some bad. And therefore, you have to, get the consequences of it. You're again bound by the results of what you're doing. And that is how any work you perform without thinking of Krishna, you are binding yourself more and more in the material world. Because, very often, many of these are like there are different seeds, right? Some seeds germinate quickly, and there are seasonal plants. You'll get immediately in 2 weeks, they'll flower. And then there'll be fruits. But some will take years to become a tree and then give you a fruit. Similarly, the different karmas that we do, some of them in the same birth, very next minute you will get the result. For example, you put your hand in fire, there, you're burnt. But sometimes you do something, some word you have heard somebody, you may even get the result in the next birth, or maybe sometimes after many births. So these consequences, based on whatever we do, there are so many, these rules of the karma, very, very complex. So we can never really understand everything. We just need to understand that whatever we are getting now, we are facing now, is a result of our karma, previous karma. Similarly, every minute what we do is going to bind us with the material world unless we perform it with the consciousness of offering it to Krishna. This is a very, very important lesson. And that's why most people in the world, 99.99% of people are just, going round and round in circles. Stupidly, they're running after some stupid happiness which is temporary, and then they are thinking this is all the world is about, and they just, it's a wasted life. They're not coming to understand that the real purpose is to understand Krishna and to offer what you do to Krishna so that you can be free from the bondage that you are now suffering in the material world. First of all, people won't even accept that I'm suffering. They'll be fully all the time taking selfies and showing the world I'm happy. Are they really happy? In the parties, they'll be drinking and having meat and dancing and dancing and dancing, and they're thinking they're happy. Are they really happy? It's all a bondage. They're not understanding. They're just thinking, once you start enjoying Krishna consciousness, you chant and you keep your mind with Krishna, you will find everything so meaningless. So Krishna says, therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duties. That doesn't mean that you stop doing, oh, it's meaningless, so I'm going to stop doing everything. Oh, these relatives and all, they don't mean anything. Anyway, after I die, I'll get some, I'll get some other relatives, or somebody else will be my relatives and friends. And so I don't need to do anything, let me cut off. That's not what Krishna wants us to do. You have to perform your prescribed duties, but you're doing it for Krishna's satisfaction, not with your extended selfishness mentality. You are doing it for Krishna. Oh, I'm doing this for my husband, for my wife, for my child, for my country, for my nation, this, all that. All that is extended selfishness. Only when you read the Bhagavad Gita, you will understand that you will be bound to this material world unless you understand Krishna and offer it to Krishna. And in that way only you can remain free from bondage. Am I taking too much time? Okay. So renunciation is what is explained in all these verses 1 to 9. It's all about renunciation. So I think now we are very clear. True renunciation is when you're detached from all sense of possessiveness. Oh, my house. Oh, my belongings. You don't have that feeling. Yes, they all belong to Krishna, and I'm going to protect them. I'm going to take care of them, and I'm going to make it grow because I'm going to use it for Krishna again. And then you'll be detached from the enjoying tendency. You will not feel like I want to enjoy, I want to get the bigger car, I want to have a more luxurious. No, I'll get whatever I deserve from my past karma. If I deserve to get a huge, big, luxurious car, I get it. Well, I'll enjoy it. I'll use it for Krishna. I'll go around, I'll go to the temple, I'll use it for Krishna's service. Whatever I do, I'll use it for Krishna. It doesn't mean stopping activities. So you should think whether it's real or fake. Purity of thoughts determine how spiritually advanced you are. Very often people are fake, and such fake people will be disturbing the society. Rather than helping people to get Krishna, they will make them more away from Krishna. And that such people, they deserve it because they are not really seeking Krishna themselves. So internal transformation is necessary, not the change of dress. You just don't simply wear an orange dress or white dress and say, I'm renounced. And it's a myth that spiritual life is leaving family because Krishna explains very clearly. You work for satisfaction of Vishnu, and then you'll be free from sins and you'll go back to the spiritual world. So you need to balance your duties, which you have. It doesn't mean you don't take care of your body. Oh, I'm not the body, I will not take care of it. No, not at all. You have to have your medicines. You have to have all the different fruits, vegetables, nutritions, everything. You have to take care of your body. You have to also take care of your soul by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra every day. Srila Prabhupada, our Jagat Guru for this particular time and age, says we should chant for at least 16 rounds. We should start with one Japamala, which takes about 10 minutes for novices. And as you go, it will become 8 minutes, 7 minutes, as you increase your speed and focus. And then you'll be able to finish one mala in about 5 to 6 minutes. And then try to increase it because you need to keep on, being in devotional service. Otherwise, you'll fall. And then you need to offer your results of what you do in service of God. So in 3.11, Krishna says the demigods, when they're pleased with whatever sacrifice you do, they will also please you. How? Because, the demigods are in charge of all the auspiciousness in this world. Whether it is rains, or whether it is... anything, making you, getting you knowledge or wealth or whatever things you want in the material world, they are the ones in charge. Although they can't give it themselves because they also, have to have the sanction of Krishna. The Supreme Lord is ultimately in control, but they are the ones who are in charge of administering all these things. So they will be pleased by sacrifices we do. And then that will make you also happy. And thus, by cooperation between men and demigods, there'll be prosperity. So that was more in the earlier days when they used to perform all these Vedic sacrifices performed by the Brahmanas, and they would get whatever they asked for. Oh, I want a son. There you go. You have a son. Dasharatha, you know how he did that yaga, and how there was a paisam which came, you know, the kheer, and then he was able to get a son. Also, whatever you ask for, there are specific Vedic sacrifices in those days they used to perform, and that's called karma kanda actually. Unless you're having the mentality of offering to Krishna. But then the demigods get pleased and they will give you when you follow the Vedas. And ultimately, ultimately the aim is to understand Krishna of all the Vedas. This is also the ultimate aim. Although it's giving you material benefits, the ultimate aim is to understand Krishna. So in charge of various necessities of life, demigods are satisfied by whatever you perform and they will give you. This is the same slide. It's just a different picture. Yagno Shishta Shino Santo. So this verse, I'm not reading because I'm getting late. This verse means the devotees of Lords are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is offered for sacrifice others. So this is again very, very important. I find that there are many Hindu families, they really don't offer food. Whereas, even Christians, or I find even Muslims, they have a prayer, they say that and then they eat, but somehow it's so sad that we don't realize that if we don't offer whatever we eat, we will incur sin. And for Krishna, the standards are high. Krishna eats only sattvic food. So Krishna doesn't have tamasic food like onion and garlic. Krishna will not have non-vegetarian food because they are all his children. All the living entities are the same soul. It's not like the soul inside the, the fish or the chicken or the, goat or the cow is of less. It's not like that. They're all the same. They all have probably been human beings, and then because of some reason they had got an animal body, or the next birth, the next birth they might get a human body. If they eat prasad, get to eat prasad, they say any association with Krishna related things, the animals also get immediately human body rather than going through all those, the long processes. So basically, this verse teaches us.
Mataji, sorry to disturb.
No,
but
no.
one common question that we generally get, because I'm from Kodava family. So when I tell people, you shouldn't be eating non-veg, that's not fair. The next question they ask me is, where in Bhagavad Gita is it written?
You tell them this verse. In fact, not only Bhagavad Gita, there are so many scriptures. This verse is just telling us that we should offer food, and if you don't offer, it is sin. But it is not mentioning specifically that onion and garlic or non-vegetarian is tamasic.
Correct.
But there are scriptures, lot of references which clearly, tell us that we shouldn't have it. And then we follow our guru. So when our guru is telling us that these are tamasic food, mushroom, onion, garlic are tamasic, the non-vegetarian food is also highly tamasic. And then it causes disturbance. It makes you more anxious. It is totally, pull you into Rajogun and Tamogun qualities. You will not get focused when you're meditating. So when they're telling you all this, we follow our guru, number one. Second is, we know that the guru is having scriptural, there are many other scriptures which explain. And then there are many people who will try and explain in so many different ways. But if we just understand that, there is really no need to force. So what Srila Prabhupada does is, he never forces you, stop non-veg. He doesn't do that ever. He just says, keep your mind on Krishna and keep chanting and meditating. Just be Krishna conscious. And, all those hippies who were there on the streets of America when Srila Prabhupada went, they did all the four, regulative principles they flouted. They were having illicit sex, they were having non-vegetarian, they were into drugs and alcohol, they were into gambling, everything they were doing. Prabhupada never told them stop. He just told them chant. And actually, it is amazing. I was also very much a non-vegetarian, till even 5 years ago.
See, the problem is not that, my kids have also stopped eating non-veg. I had stopped long back. My kids have also stopped. But whenever we have a meet of the family, it is like, oh, don't listen to your mother. She has some Brahmin friends. So they're saying, nowhere Krishna has said you should stop eating. You're just weakening yourself. You have to play, so you need to eat. That's the kind of pressure
say
that
all
they
those
get.
things.
So
it is
my son
protein.
constantly fasting. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Yes, Mataji, let them come on their own. Don't force anyone, but just tell them that
Correct.
Krishna is
Exactly.
saying,
Because, no.
at least
See, the
just let
force is
them
on my
drink.
children to eat.
Yeah.
Okay, it's the other way around. I am not forcing anybody to leave. It's just that my sons have left. So the pressure from my family towards my children is
Yes.
more, saying, you
Hap-
need to eat. Your mother is wrong. So
Yeah.
they keep asking, where in Bhagavad Gita is it written, Amma? So
Yes.
that's where I asked you.
Yes, Mataji. Bhagavad Gita doesn't say explicitly that don't eat non-veg or anything. But then, very clearly the Krishna devotees say Krishna doesn't like it. For Krishna, all the living entities are one and the same. That he says in several verses, right? Krishna
Okay.
says in several verses that everybody is equal for me. All living entities are equal for Krishna. Krishna is there inside everyone. So those things we can mention.
Okay.
So
Get
that
it.
we can say. And then you just help them to think of Krishna, to chant every day or something. And then just by thinking of Krishna, by yourself, even if
Yeah.
nobody told you that you have to stop, simply when you think of Krishna constantly, you will not be able to do anything which Krishna doesn't like. It will happen by itself. It's a very beautiful process actually. I found it very beautiful in my life. Somebody said in the first day orientation also. I remember when Prabhuji said in the first orientation day also that he just gave up very easily. It happens very smoothly. There's no struggle.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
All Yes, Mataji. So all
Thank you.
living bodies. So should we stop here and continue from 3.14 tomorrow because it is 10 o'clock? Do you mind?
Yes, Mataji. It is
You mind
better.
or it's okay if I stop here and continue from here tomorrow? It's okay, right?
Better to stop and continue tomorrow.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for that. Because even I feel
It's
very
okay.
bad when I extend the time. And plus it's 10 o'clock. We need to get up early and all that. Okay, thank you so much. I'm ending here today. We will continue hopefully. And whenever a chapter is small, we'll be able to make up. Thank you so much for being with me. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpa
Hare Krishna.
sindhubhya eva patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Any questions you have, you can please put it forth in tomorrow so we can start off with question sessions. And now I'm ending the session. Thank you so much, Lavanya Mataji, for liking the session. And I hope that we are all growing spiritually. My voice was unclear, Ritika. Is it okay now? Voice is
Now it's okay.
Yes, ma'am.
okay. Anyway, hopefully tomorrow my net is also better. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you. I'm ending.